All right, we are just about ready to go. Let's see, which window is this? We don't need that one. Let me close that one, and I'll just use the one that's getting pulled into OBS. Could be a shorter. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So the I do know the sound does come through for Paul SK in the chat there. It does. When I have that other screen up, it still has the microphone thing inside of it. There's probably some way I can get it so that the microphone doesn't come through on that one, but I don't want to have to remember to turn the microphone back on. And the only way I know how to do it right now is like I could mute the microphone altogether and then I could turn it back on. But I probably just need to look into a way to actually set it up for that scene to have a muted microphone where the others don't. So that's why you can hear me typing. And I was just typing the message in the Discord that I sent a few minutes ago, and then changing over the description on the YouTube post. So that's what that typing was. Thank you. Yep, thanks. Can see and hear me fine now. Thank you. So hello to everybody. Happy weekend. Hopefully, if it's a weekend wherever you're at, hopefully you're having a nice one. So my name is Tim. I go by foamyguy on Twitch and Discord and GitHub. Although on Twitch it's actually foamyguy_Twitch. But that is where you can watch this stream. The chat that is showing on the screen down below is the Adafruit Discord inside the live broadcast chat room. So if you want to head there, you can hang out or ask questions or anything throughout the show. And I also have the Twitch chat pulled up, so I'll try to keep an eye on that as well. We will be working with CircuitPython. I am picking up kind of where I left off with the page layout last week, trying to turn that into a tab layout. So that's the specific thing I'm working on. But if you are watching this in the future or now and you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can find out more at circuitpython.org. This is the website for it right here. This is basically a version of Python that runs on these tiny computers, such as this one that I have here, PyPortal Titano. And we're writing Python code that runs on these devices and it can interface with external hardware. In this case, the screen and the touch overlay is the main external hardware that I am interested in interfacing with right now, but there are all sorts of different shapes and sizes and form factors of these microcontrollers, and each of them have the ability to hook up to different types of external devices, sensors, lights, speakers, buzzers, knobs, slides, all kinds of things that you could imagine that you would want to hook up to a electronic device. You can plug into these microcontrollers and then write Python code again to interface with it to control what it does and what you do with the results that come from it. So that's the kind of stuff we're working on. If you want to support CircuitPython, one of the ways that you can do that is by purchasing hardware from Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. Adafruit pays the folks who work on CircuitPython. It's an open source project, so anybody is allowed to work on it. But the specific development of the full-time, paid folks that work on the core full-time are at the direction of Adafruit. So they're paying the salary of the folks that are working on the project full-time. They're also paying some folks like me who work on the project part-time. So definitely appreciate if you want to purchase hardware from them. And again, that's supporting the project indirectly. So definitely really appreciate that. So first thing, actually, I want to take a look at today before I jump straight into the page layout is this updated cat program. So we worked on this Nico cat program. Let me see, actually, also Cedar said something else. Let me see what else you said, Cedar. All right, this doesn't like to launch Discord for some reason. Here we go. Do this. I am in the state of Missouri in the United States. Nice. Interesting. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, Circup, installing display stuff. Recently received and ordered PyPortal Titano from Primaroni. Nice. Yeah, so there are also suppliers in different parts of the world. So Adafruit is the company that manufactures this particular device, this PyPortal. They also manufacture lots of other microcontrollers and other sensors and things. They do have distributors in different parts of the world. So Primaroni, I think you can buy some Adafruit hardware through them, and that's over in the UK, I believe, if Primaroni is based there. If not, definitely Europe somewhere. And also other places like DigiKey as well is a big electronics supplier in Minnesota, I think, somewhere cold in the United States. And you can buy hardware through them as well. So there are other places that do stock Adafruit hardware as like resellers, basically. They buy up lots of stock so that there can be a big bulk of stock to buy from. Adafruit is based in New York. And they have a warehouse there, and they do warehouse some stuff. But as you could probably imagine, space is pretty expensive in New York. So you can't necessarily probably keep as much stock as you might like. Whereas DigiKey has a massive new warehouse that they have shown bits and pieces of on Show and Tell a couple of times. And I imagine you could probably store a lot more stuff there than you could feasibly in New York. My son lives close to Louisville, Kentucky. In some image from Adafruit, I saw that they had an acrylic stand for the PyPortal. Rex and I ordered from Primaroni another smaller PyPortal. Less nice. Yeah, there is a pint as well. This is the PyPortal Titano. There's a pint one, Pynt, that's a smaller one. And then there's the original one, which is this one, which is kind of medium sized. It's the original one was kind of the middle size, and then they made a bigger one and a smaller one. So first thing is Cedar Grove, one of the folks that is a member of the community, oftentimes watches the stream and hangs out in the chat, helps me write code sometimes, fixes problems before I notice them, all kinds of neat stuff like this. So thank you to everything Cedar does, but they put together this updated version of the NicoCat, which if you're interested in the original project of the NicoCat, I actually did this whole project on various streams. So I don't have links for you, but if you look back through the VODs on YouTube, you could find when I was working on this NicoCat, so you can kind of see the history of this project back then if you're interested. Where are you? Run away from him, kitty. Interesting. Received a frame on the front. Yeah, I do think also I don't have the frame thing, but I do think there is like a laser cut stand looking thing. This thing, which is kind of nice. I think that's acrylic. It has tape on it or whatever, but this sort of black and clear shiny plastic, I think is what it is. There's a couple of, I think there's 3D print designs as well out there for a case. I probably should get a case for mine, but I end up just leaving them like this a lot. So this NicoCat was basically this little animated cat that runs around the screen, and you can touch your finger in order to draw a little laser dot and make it go towards the laser dot. This was, the CircuitPython project grew out of this older NicoCat mouse follower. We'll probably find it with this, maybe. The original one of these was like an old program back in like early days of computers. Well, relatively early. I mean, we had graphics, so it's like not that early, but early in terms of like computer graphics and programs and things. So there was a version for Macintosh, looks like 1989. There was versions on lots of other platforms as well, it turns out. And so we made a CircuitPython port of this little Nico Kitty software. The original one follows around the mouse. Of course, we're using a touchscreen, so we set it up to follow around the touch on the touchscreen. And Cedar Grove extended this to make it have multiple cats, and to make it have a configuration file, and to make it have easier support for multiple screens. So all of that sounds really nice. I'm going to load it up and take a look, and then eventually what I'd like to do, I think, is include this updated version into the guide. So back when I made this project, my sort of deliverable, my end goal was this guide right here. Nico Kitty guide. And so I think what I'll do is try to update the guide with the newer version. I'm not going to do that live on the stream today. I do want to work on some other coding stuff. But I do think I want to do that so that folks can play with this newer, better, awesome version. So first I'm going to download it and try it out for myself. So let's go main. I guess we're in a folder. Okay, right. So we can go here. With this, and I'll load up my device. Do I have device workspace or no? CircuitPython. Let's get device workspace. I think the one I meant is the one on the image on the top of that list that you showed. I gotcha. Let me also raise the spec. Okay, so we have we have 2 devices still again today. Let me unplug the timestamper, I think. Let's unplug the timestamper. Get us down to only 1 device here. So this is stuff I was working on last night on the deep dive. This was basically testing hidden shapes. Testing hidden shapes. Vector IO shapes, specifically. I'm going to rename that and make a new empty... Well, actually, there's probably a CodePy in the thing. We'll go find that download. I think I clicked the download. Let me clean out my downloads folder. Oh, come on. I guess I could have still done it. That's all right. Extract here. What? Okay. From cat. So there's a picture of it running on a bunch of different things. And so some of the stuff that Cedar did was make this code more portable. When I wrote the code originally, it supported devices with built-in displays relatively universally. You could just run it on any device with a built-in display. But this version can also run on a couple of commonly used external displays like the Featherwings, TFT Featherwings. There's a CodePy. And I think what we'll do, let's see, probably have all of this stuff. Oh, the touchscreen calibrator is in here as well. I ended up using that as well not too long ago. So I think we could go with these. Yeah, we could go with these. I'll take the calibrator. If there's not already a copy on here, it'd be nice to have a copy on here. Sure, we'll want it one of these days. Possibly even today, actually, when we get in the tab layout, we'll be working with touchscreen stuff, and it will matter that it's relatively accurate. With the little laser dot, it's not, I mean, you don't want it to be way off, but like if it's a couple pixels off, you're not going to notice it, probably, with the laser dot. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Probably I need to still do something. Set up the configuration or something, maybe? Let's see. Or maybe the background needs to be set or something. Or I didn't copy all the files. That's also possible. Let's get our serial. Oh, interesting. We ended up with CircuitPy instead of CircuitPy 1, but we ended up on UI ACM 1. Usually those match. Oh, okay, I don't have all the libraries. Let's see. It may be I'm passing it in wrong too, actually, because this thing supports multiple screens. It may be that it's set for not a screen that we're using. Yeah. Here we go. This is what we want, I think, for mine. So we'll go turn off this one. I wish there was a multi-line comment. Or I wish there was a keyboard hotkey for doing this. I guess there probably is. We just don't know it. I wish it was Control-Shift-S. I guess that's really what I wish, because multi-line comment in other languages, I can use Control-Shift/, and it will make the comment for me. I guess it's weird though, because it's actually a string, not a comment. So then it has to like know when you're trying to use that as a string versus a comment. So, what did I end up pasting the? I guess we could just get a new one. I just did the calibration the other day. Maybe that was on the other device though. It must have been on the other device. So let's save this. Basic calibration will probably be all right. No brightness. Okay, so we probably need this one too. Untype. See if there's anything else we need. Use touch delay. Want to wait for valid touch events. Getting closer. Only getting closer. None type, no rotation. Let's see. Type, no rotation. It's probably still setting up a different kind of screen. Let's see. Yeah, okay. For built-in display equals or display. Display dot rotation. I think display should have rotation, shouldn't it? So on board there is display. Oh, okay. Yeah. This happened before. There's a release displays. Release. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so one quirk about CircuitPython with the display is that the display lives longer than the CircuitPython virtual machine. So after your program ends, the display stays initialized. None of the rest of the stuff from your program keeps existing, or the vast majority of the rest of the stuff at least. Maybe there's a few other things. But the display stays. It stays instantiated, and it lives internally in like this extra third spot that's kind of unique as far as user code goes. So when I ran this the first time, it had set up for this other screen. When it tried to run the code for this other screen, it called release displays. That then got rid of that display initialization finally, and that's like permanent. We would have to reinitialize it, which we could do, but also we could just reset the board. If I reset the board, this will go back to working because it will reinitialize the display automatically. And if I had watched and changed that configuration file before I launched it, then I think also this would not have happened this way. Oh, this is going to be on ACM 0 now, so we're not going to be able to see it. Let's see. What is it? Control Q? T? No, Control TQ. There it is. Okay. So it's on 0 now. Okay. None type. Oh, it still did it. Let's see. Did I not save? Maybe I didn't save. Built-in rotation. So it's something made it release again. Let's see. It must have still released from somewhere. Here? Ah, yeah. There we go. Oh, okay. So this... Oh, wait. Oh. Well, where are we? Oh. Wait, what? Oh, this is not... I don't even know what this is. This is not Circuit... I don't think this is CircuitPython. EVE stubs? I don't even know. EVE? I don't know what that would be. That's weird. I think it's... PyCharm's not good about finding... It assumes that stuff are going to be in libraries, like in site package, more than it assumes they're going to be in files, like next to your CodePy. There's probably some way I could get it to find this stuff easier, but by default I've noticed that it looks in site packages before it looks in just like the file that's right next door to CodePy. Python itself will look at all of it. Python itself will look here happily and find it, but PyCharm, it kind of assumes it's going to be a library. So I think what's happening is this releases it, but then this is, as I just click through to the same thing again, but then this inside of here assumes that it will not be released. So through here, it assumes that it's still initialized. Looks like built-in broke, something to fix today. I bet you it's probably, I bet you only we just take this out and then it works, I think, if I'm understanding it, because this one down here has it anyway. So if it's doing the featherwing and this one too, yeah. Ooh, whoa, let's fix that. Okay, I bet this makes it work. Well, okay, and with another reset because of the long-lived thing I was talking about before. There we go. All right. So here we have the multiple kitties. The white kitty is the main one. The home kitty, the other kitties are the strays. And so the white kitty will follow the laser dot when you touch. So we can touch and make the white kitty go to specific places. And then we have all the kitties that run around. And then was it this one that had collision? Or is that a different one? Let's see. No, okay, they run over each other in this one. Which is cool, because I have cats and they run over each other. Like, they don't get out of each other's way very well. Well, one of them it does kind of, so it's very cat-like behavior, certainly. And then, so now not only does this project have a bunch of these cats, it also has this file, Nico configuration, which we were in before, and you can specify the colors. Oh, neat, you can specify, oh, okay. Let me look at the bitmap. I thought there was... Oh. I thought there was colors embedded. So you actually, okay. So you actually used the white in the original sprite sheet and just overwrote it using palette inside CircuitPython. That's actually really cool. So this is a good example for folks if you want to customize a sprite object. So our actual sprites are all white. This is the actual sprite sheet, and the cat's white in all of them. But CircuitPython has a palette object, and on the palette object, you can change any particular color index to a different color. So this code must be overwriting the white by changing the palette, which is nice because it means we only need one sprite sheet, but we can actually have as many different colors as we want. We actually end up with different sprites that look different based on color, but they all come from the same sprite sheet. Made a list of palettes, nice. No worries about sharing off-topic info. That's not a problem. I mean, it's still like a public chat and stuff as well. I don't really mind. Delete DS store. Oh, was there a DS store in there? Oh, yeah. DS store. M5 stack. Documentation fragmented. Yeah, I will say MicroPython is, obviously MicroPython is very cool, but that is one of the things about it is it supports lots of different things and there's different functionalities on different things, and it's, you have to make sure the specific, I mean, there's some of that in CircuitPython as well, but it's a lot more ubiquitous as far as I understand it. Like, CircuitPython tries to equalize all the devices to support the same things, but MicroPython, some devices support some things and other devices don't. We end up with a similar idea with like SAMD21s having some stuff turned off. But the breakpoint in CircuitPython is pretty much SAMD21s can't do everything. pretty much everything else can. Whereas MicroPython, like every single device, like it may do this, and then another device may not, and then a different device might have this whole other functionality. So that's how that kind of goes, and that's good for some people, right? Some people want the exact functionality they want. They don't care about if a different device they're not using supports it the same way. So both definitely have their place. So let's tweak this a bit. Let's I'm gonna try to go. Let's go green or like tealish for the background color. So we're at sort of pinkish. Let's try tealish, maybe like this. Yeah. This is closer to the original color, so it's got a bit of a pause while all the cats spawn. There's also a wait time in between animations, and the white cat will follow. Nice. You could probably... So I guess technically the first cat is the one that follows, probably, right? So we could actually make this cat blue. Oh, I think this one is now, yeah, the one that follows. So we actually, that's kind of cool too. We actually do get to pick the color, essentially, of the one that follows us. Because since only one of the cats follow the dot, otherwise they all just like converge on top of each other. Although they do like to hang out on top of each other anyway. This is awesome. Thank you for, again, thank you for making all of these improvements, Cedar. I want to, I'm stoked to update the guide to improve, to add this improved version, I should say, with all the extra cats. I think folks will get a kick out of this. We could go green laser dot too if we wanted, or any color really, but use touch overlay. Okay, so some devices don't have the touch overlay, in which case it doesn't bother checking for touch events and trying to draw the laser dot. So a lot of this stuff was configurable in the original program, just wasn't broken out into this. And then this was definitely not configurable. We only had one cat originally. So this is the main configuration that allows you to set the number of cats. Yeah, for sure. This was, I had never actually heard of this thing before. This was, I guess, something that Lady Ada had back in the day on a Mac or something. And that's where the project idea came from, was she reached out and was like, do you think we could implement this thing I used to have on my Mac? All right. So that's our fun with cats for a bit. And the other thing, next thing I want to work on today is tabbed layout. So last week I wrote this, let's see, let me let's do this way. Code MicroCat. Let's go to open code. Last week I wrote this page layout. Let's see. Which it was broken for a minute. I think the version of black or something changed and the actions wasn't passing for a bit. But it is now. Let's see if I have this version on my device. I think I was developing on this device, but I don't remember for sure. Yeah, probably, because these are Pi. Yeah. So do I have page layout test? Page example? Yeah. So this is a widget that tries to make it easy for you to have a multi-page layout, a multi-page application where you have, you know, one or more pages, or realistically you probably have at least two or more pages, and you want to change between them. So this by itself just facilitates that. It lets you add new pages as different pages, and you assign names to them, and then you can tell it which page to show at any given time, either by specifying the page name, the page index, or you can also just use like next page, previous page. And so that's what this page layout does. And so I'm going to build on top of this a tab layout that does basically this. Is ultimately our goal here is to make a modern version of this guide example. Remember that from my youth? The Cats, I think, Nico project. I remember Nico on a Mac back in the day when I was in high school. Nice. Speaking of Mac throwbacks, it'd be fun if there was a text-to-speech, so we could re-implement Talking Moose. Text-to-speech would be fun. Remember the huge 20 meg hard drive? Talking Moose ran on Mac Plus. It can't have been that big. Can you share a link of the scripts that you're showing? Yeah. So the if I was on the NicoCat thing when you mentioned that, then this is the link for it. This is the link for the updated one with the multiple cats that Cedar Grove worked on. The guide is here in the Learn Guide system. You just search NicoCat in the Learn Guide system, it'll be the first one that comes up here. So this one has the link to the original code that I created, but I'm going to update it with the new code, which is that GitHub link. And then if you're talking about the page layout, the code for that I can also link, but it will be probably easiest if I just link the PR. Cats thing, okay. So this PR does have the page layout code. So that's... right. Let's say we're going to go back and make a tab layout. So we're going to build on top of the page layout this concept, which is showing in this animation here, where there's 3 or however many you want tabs. Each tab is associated with a screen, and then when you click on the tab, it will change the screen that's showing, and it will have an indicator that tells you which one also is showing. So some kind of highlight. And so our ultimate aim is to like rebuild this whole project using some helper widgets to take away a lot of the boilerplate code, and also to have async IO support. Oh, I forgot to disable the YouTube. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't save it. Probably didn't save it. Thank you, Johnny, by the way, and thanks for tuning in and such. How are you doing today? Let me, let's see here. Oh, it shows, interesting. On my end, it shows chat is disabled for this live stream. Weird. I refreshed, it still shows disabled for me. That's interesting. I did, it's not showing in OBS, is it? Let's see. No. Okay. I did have chat for Deep Dive yesterday. I keep the YouTube chat on for Deep Dive. It is now, okay. Yeah, I do keep the YouTube chat on for Deep Dive, because that was like Scott used to always interact with folks in there. And it seems like for whatever reason, like we don't get as much spam in the Deep Dive. I don't know, somehow if YouTube has some kind of way that's like filtering out spam for like larger accounts. I mean, the Adafruit account definitely has a lot more followers and viewers and things than my account. Maybe there's some kind of additional filtering or something. But on mine, whenever I put the YouTube chat on, I get more spam than I do actual chat. And the kind of spam that I get, I don't really want to show on the screen. YouTube doesn't do a very good job of disallowing people from posting blatant spam, fortunately. So we're trying to rebuild this whole example here. This example was created, I assume, like way back when Display.io first got released. So this was basically just example code that showed you how to do this stuff. And it works pretty well, but we can like simplify it a lot. The code for this is fairly gnarly. If you're like a beginner, there's a lot of like math dividing by the size of the screen, and it takes a bunch of code to set up all of the labels and all the buttons and all of this stuff. Like there's a lot of code here, which it's not bad, but like we can improve it with some layouts. I think we can make it easier and make the code easier to read, because we can have a lot more descriptive code that just is like, change page to this page or whatever. So this is what we're trying to rebuild. Specifically, I'm working on the tab layout portion of it, which reminds me, actually, before I jump straight into that, somebody reached out to me who worked on an update for this, and I told him I would review the PR. Let me do that. It's relevant to what we're working on, so this is not much of a tangent. This goes right along with it. This person added support to that example, this exact example that we were just looking at. They added support for the PyPortal Titano. And there's a PR here for it. So we're going to test it out and approve it if it works. I will test first the old code just to show that it doesn't work. And then when we run the new code, we'll see, hey, no fighting, please. I like, the best thing about virtual Nico kitties is they don't fight each other. Isn't that right, Catty Beans? That's my favorite thing about virtual Nico kitties. They don't fight each other. Just lucky the filtering is the same. It feels too consistent to be a coincidence. It could still be a coincidence, though. It'd still be a coincidence. I just am weary of Google, basically, in general. Where is my window with... Here we go. Okay. Speaking of YouTube, they paused my music on me, asked me if I was still here. And I have too many windows. So I have the Titano already loaded up right here on the camera. So we'll grab this project, scroll through 1 million downloads because I still haven't cleaned it up. Oh my, I should have used the bar. Okay, finally, here we are. Extract this, open this. I don't think we need secrets. I don't think we need secrets. Maybe maybe there's an Adafruit.io thing or something. Helvetica. We'll use a different font as well. There's no license for this. I suspect, truthfully, we might not be really allowed to distribute this all the way. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like an open version or something, but it doesn't have a license with it, and therefore, like, it wouldn't pass reuse. Oh, okay, here we go. Which I know is an initiative in the Learn Guide repos now. So we're going to take all of these, drop them onto my CircuitPy. Yep. Merge, paste, all of the fun stuff. And so, okay, well, first error is probably just a, need to install this. Oops. Incompatible MPY. Did CircuitPython... Oh, I should have done the all thing. What is it? Oh. Yeah. CircuitPython 8 maybe has a different MPY? See you, Tammy. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. Have a great day to you as well. For folks that don't know, Tammy streams on Twitch as well. I'm not... So I don't think I have the... Is that Shadowbot? That doesn't just exist by default, does it? I'll try it. I think I have to actually like set something up for this to work though, but let's see. Unrecognized command. Okay, well, there are commands built in. Anyway, though, for folks that don't know, Tammy streams on Twitch. Check out their streams. Oops, now I can see, or now I can hear, rather. She also streams CircuitPython related stuff over on Twitch. Amongst other things, she's been working on a deck of cards, CircuitPython project. No module named PyPortal. See that? I'm not sure I believe. I feel like we would have had PyPortal? Maybe not, I guess. Yeah, I guess not. So there's also, what is it? Circup install, -a? Is it -a for like read CodePy? No, that's gonna be, is that all or auto? Does that do it? Okay, that did do it. Okay, so we get the splash screen, and then we just get blank. Yeah. So unfortunately, this is what the current behavior on the PyPortal is. We saw the splash screen, but then just setting the image, I think BG image probably would have been the splash. But let's take a look. And then we just get empty screen after that. Oh, BG image. Oh, interesting. So that's not showing, actually. It tried to set to that, but it didn't succeed. So the fixes are in this PR. Oh, this is tides, though. This is the one we want. We could... I'll probably also review the tides one as well, actually, since I'm here. And I don't know, Richard... This is the person who made the... I assume this is the person who made this guide. But I'm not familiar with this person. I haven't seen them around like in Discord or anything, at least since I've been hanging around in the CircuitPython community. So I think maybe they don't contribute as much anymore, or at least just don't hang out in the Discord. But I have everything to review this. Okay, so it probably is setting the image, but we can't see it because the backlight is all the way off, which makes the screen invisible. Yeah. This makes sense as well because there's a couple of things that do math with the screen size in order to basically draw like 1/2 of the screen or 1/3 of the screen. Yeah. So updating this makes sense as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't use the full screen probably. So this makes sense. This makes sense to me at least. So let's go. I want to get the code for this. I think the easiest way is probably just going to be to check out the PR. Oh, I shouldn't have done this window. No. No, thank you. Don't need that. And got the old Twitch follow buyer thingies. Yeah, -A for auto, okay. Titano backlight doesn't behave like other PyPortals. Generally, it's dimmer. I see. So we're here, so we can go fetch, list the open PRs. One we want is 2117, JHPR checkout 2117. Scroll way down to the P's. PyPortal. Oh, okay. I don't know where it's at actually. Expecting PyPortal interface, but PyPortal user interface, close. Close, but not quite. User interface, here we go. We grab updated code, go to code, paste updated code. This happens to be portrait. Code stopped reloading soon. It just didn't relaunch itself. Oh, this is gone now because I accidentally closed my closed this window. Back to ACM0 now. Here we go. So the background doesn't fit the whole thing, but that makes sense because the background is just an actual BMP. And it's sized like the regular PyPortal, not the Titano. So maybe we could I don't know, we'd either have to scale that up or else it just won't cover the full thing. We could try to make a background that like doesn't use a BMP. But also part of the point of this project is like showing how to do everything. So showing how to draw an image is something that lots of folks will want to be able to do. I will say the, oh, okay. No, just the angle. The angle that I see it from, as I sit here with it like this, it's much darker, but as soon as I point it towards myself, it's much brighter. If I kind of angle it up a bit, you can see how it seems much darker, but when you look at it straight on, it's like plenty bright. Where is, I had a little stylus here, which is really helpful for these nice resistive touchscreens. So what does this say? The text on this screen is wrapped so that it fits nicely into a text box. Oh, you know what? I bet you there's room for improvement with that as well. Yeah, so this is using PyPortal wrap nicely. And in fact, my guess is this is probably the only thing this uses PyPortal for, right? PyPortal library? No. Okay, set background also. Truthfully, the PyPortal library is best if you are trying to like make an IoT thing, like fetch some data from the internet and show it. It does this, oh, play file as well, okay. Play file is kind of nice. It does this kind of stuff as well. But a lot of, like this actually exists inside just, inside of display text now as well. You don't have to use PyPortal library for this. Set background and play file, though, are pretty nice to have helper functions to do those. So this turned on the LED on the back. So the button here shows you the current state. So it says off while the LED is off. And then you touch it, turns on, and it says on. This one, oh, this turned it to yellow, and now green, and now blue, pink, and red, and yellow. Whenever you turn it off and on again, you go back to white. U2, that made a little beep. This one's a bit washed out. Maybe the lights could help. Thanks for merging Foamy. Only did a backlight fix to make it show something. I'm a Python noob. Yeah, I thank you for working on it, my friend. I appreciate any kind of improvements to guide stuff like this, especially like display IO stuff has a place in my heart, so to speak. So like, I'm always happy to see new folks contributing. So thanks for working on it. Thanks for the follow as well over on Twitch. I see you in the list there. I think you followed at some point while one of my streams was running. This one, it's looking kind of washed out. Maybe the lights, it looks normal to the actual eye, but curious if maybe we can make it look just a tad better for coming through the stream here. It's the camera control panel. Yeah, nah, sorta, kinda, a little bit, not really. Does look better, but the glare might be too much to deal with. Tap the icon button to make a new friend. Every time you tap the icon button, the image will change. Say hi to Gus. Billy. Ruby. So that's the name of the 3 LEDs. I should run calibration. It's not quite perfect. It's good enough though. View 3. This could use a tad more padding. It's not the end of the world, I guess, but I don't actually. Let me pull this up closer to my ear. I don't know if it's actually playing or if it's just a button that says sound. Okay. But this does work. There is other stuff that could be improved, although I doubt this is caused by the PyPortal Titano, the fact that these two texts are so close together. That's probably covered up by the chat though. Partially, yeah. Let me go back to this. Oh, that's still kind of covered up as well, isn't it? Why don't we do it this way? Let's take this chat down a bit. Oh, I see. Okay, let's do it this way then. Let's try something like that, and then scoot that right down. Now we can see the whole camera. All right. Chat's back so I can see him still. This no space here probably, I guess, does this on the regular PyPortal as well. That's my guess. But this does work now. Actually showing anything at all is much better than just blank screen like it was before. So I would say I'm pretty happy with this improvement. There's definitely more improvements to be made, and those are kind of the things I'll take into consideration as I'm making a new one. But this is definitely way more functional than it was before. And it makes sense to me why. Before it was working, but we couldn't see it. We probably still could have touched and like heard beeps and stuff, but it we can't see anything because of the backlight. I think I have merge on this. Double check the files again. User interface code is the only file, yep. I'll check out your other one as well. Not right now. but I will check out this one as well. Oh, there's even a video. What? No, get out of my way. Nice. Yeah, I guess this probably was like only taking up part of the screen, is my guess, is what this one used to do. I think it's also fetching data. Eventually it fills in a like a chart of the tides for the day for people who live near the ocean. Yeah, these dots there. I'm sure I'll align eventually. I don't remember for sure. I don't live near the ocean, so the tides thing, like I've run it a few times as testing, but I don't use it regularly. Okay. So that's cool. We get even another peek at the same project that we are ultimately trying to work on. And I like having it loaded on my device, actually, so I can kind of go back and forth between this and the page layout, and tab layout, which I'm trying to make now. Make sure that we're building something that is similar, analogous, right? Serves the same purpose of illustrating how to do that stuff, but hopefully does it in less confusing code and less overall code, at least in the CircuitPy file. We'll have widgets and stuff with code in them that might add to the overall number of lines, although probably not too much. Hopefully it will lead to CircuitPy itself being easier to understand and modify for folks, because this is like, it's kind of like a all-encompassing example project that also is like a bit of a skeleton that you can like take and carve up and like put your own stuff into. It's not necessarily like by itself, it's not necessarily meant to do anything necessarily besides just show you the code. But you could repurpose it, make your own 3 pages, or make more than 3 pages, or whatever you want, and like build your own application. The line doesn't render when you tried. Oh, okay. There may be something else. I'll take a look in the code for that one as well when I review it. There may be something else. These could be TCH. I'm like one of the worst spellers ever. I rarely ever will notice spelling mistakes, but this one happened to catch my eye right now. There may be something else in the code that causes it not to work on the Titano. I'll take a look when I do the review and see if I can figure that out as well. So let's start with the example we have. Well, where do we start? Do we start with the example we have for the paged layout, or do we start with what we want our code to be for the tabbed layout? So one thing I will do is go back to landscape. Will I go back to landscape? Yeah, I think for now I will. Which, in this case, we do by just resetting. This is another consequence of the fact that the display lives past the CircuitPython VM, is the rotation stays at whatever it was last until you explicitly change it. Some of our circuit stuff seems to have overrid the updated display layout with the page layout inside of it. If anybody who's watching is interested, I definitely would appreciate any other sets of eyes. I think Dexter looked over this and even showed some other examples using it. Anybody else who's wanting, though, especially if you want to, who's watching, I should say, especially if you want to get involved with development and contributing to CircuitPython, this display.io layout PR, if you want to try it on your device and just leave feedback, like if it works for you, or if you think there's anything could be better, or if you have trouble, you can leave that feedback as well. The more eyes, the better on this sort of stuff. So if anybody wants to get involved in that way, definitely would be appreciated. So let's grab the library. Because it would be nice to get that one merged in and then afterwards be able to make a new PR with the tab layout. But ideally we want to get at least another review on it probably. There we go. So this should run now, right? Yeah. Okay. So I think to start with, we basically just start changing this user code to make it how we want the tab layout to work. And then after that, I'm going to start coding the tab layout. And in this case, not much is going to change. I think what we'll do is use the page names as the labels that go on our tabs. One question we have to answer is, do we want to use display IO buttons, which already exist? Or do we want to not use them and instead just handle the touch events ourselves? And I think, oops. I think I might want to skip using the button. Let me look at something first, though. Yeah. I think I'm going to skip the button for now. May come back and eventually use it. The main thing that I want that the button doesn't support right now, I don't think, is I want rounded edges on the top, but rounded corners rather, not rounded edges, rounded corners on the top, but square corners on the bottom, which, like, it's very nitpicky, and I do grant that, but that is how tabbed layouts typically are shown. Although, as I say that, I'm looking at my tabs in the browser here, and they're definitely just rounded all the way around. This one is square as well, but the colors... Yeah, I guess that's not as common as I was thinking. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of like an older design style. Stuff is all square. A couple of them use underlines. If we skip using display button, then we'll have more like flexibility for changing the style. Where, like, if we want to implement some that use this bar at the bottom versus the entire background. These are like the ones I was thinking. So they're rounded on top, but square on the bottom. They look like folder tabs. Yeah, I think I want to be able to do it like this. I mean, ultimately, I think we'll have room for configuration, and like the user could set it up a number of different ways. Tim, what IDE are you using? It is PyCharm. I see the name left down. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, yeah, bottom left corner, PyCharm. Yeah, this one is PyCharm. I know a lot of folks do use VS Code. I don't have much experience with it personally, but I do like PyCharm quite a bit. I started using PyCharm for my work. Got the zoomies running around here. I started using PyCharm for work even before I got involved with CircuitPython. And then, like, when I did get involved with CircuitPython, it naturally used it and figured out a couple of tweaks to make it work nicely for a few things that by default were kind of problematic. So I think the most basic tab layout, we pretty much will not specify anything else. We'll pretty much specify the exact same stuff as our page layout, and then it will do the default thing as far as like how the tabs look and where they're located and how they show which one is currently the visible one. But then I think we'll try to build some configuration, like where you can actually tell it how you want them to look, whether they should be like top or bottom, whether they should use the bar for the highlighting versus the full color. Eventually, I'd love to be able to set it so that you can actually configure that stuff, although I don't want it to be overwhelming either. So like, if we are going to do that, we do need to make it to where it's like strikes a balance between easy to set up and use and configure versus total like control over everything. PyCharm I smelled once, but for some reason don't remember it and continue, but it looks great in your stream. Yeah, thank you. I know, I mean, it's not for everybody. Like Scott, especially, the lead developer of CircuitPython, doesn't tend to prefer using fully featured IDEs. He uses, I think, what's the text program that's on Mac and Linux that a lot of people use? Is it... Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, Scott uses a more basic text editor, and then he has an add-on for version control stuff. And I would say PyCharm, like, especially when I first started using it, the primary benefit, the primary feature of PyCharm that I found unbelievably helpful was the version control integration. The screens that show you differences, like when you're merging or resolving conflicts, the screens that let you see, like, compare this branch to that branch, the screen that lets you see, like, this thing, where you can look through the Git history and, like, find any particular commit and click it and see the files. Like, this is all the stuff that originally hooked me onto PyCharm, was the version control integration. But it does have a lot of other nifty features as well that I kind of pick up every now and then. I'll learn a new tip or trick or new feature, and then it'll stick. But there's still a bunch of functionality I don't even know about or use, I'm sure. So I think, yeah, this is probably good for the most basic version. And then I think what I'm going to do is, internally, I think I'm going to not use button. I think instead I'm just going to draw my own stuff and get the touch coordinates and then just divvy it up by percentages or whatever. Like, if the person creates 3 tabs, then it will just look for the X coordinate to be in the first third of the screen, and the middle third for the second one, and the last third for the other one. I think this will give us a lot of flexibility when it comes to making the tabs look different. If we use display button, it would make the touch interaction just a little bit easier, but it would limit how we can make the tabs look in some ways. Ideally, I think it would be nice to also let the user provide a custom sprite that they could use for the tabs, but that's way down the line. Let's work on this first. Tab layout. So really, I think what we do is let's start with new file tab layout. This is going to be class tab layout, and it's going to extend page layout. Hoping we're going to be able to make this work from Did I do that wrong? Does not get these, I guess. So, is that the minimal? No. Okay, so we really can't. Oh, right. Layouts. Unexpected keyword argument X. Do these come in like this? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have overridden page layout, but we haven't changed anything yet, of course, other than the name. But we now have a tab layout. So let's start making some tabs. I think we need a tab size, height at least. I think I'll just start with something like 20. I use VS Code now and then. What I'm also looking for is to find back certain solutions or functions created for certain hardware, kind of database with lookup tables. Quite often I'm thinking I already wrote functions for this, but where is it? If I was to buy a license for personal use of PyCharm, do I need more tools from JetBrains besides PyCharm, or is it sufficient to just buy PyCharm? I think it's sufficient to just buy PyCharm. PyCharm is the only JetBrains software that I've purchased. I have looked into some of the others before. I used the free trial of Sea Lion for a month or however long it lasts. I didn't really find features that made developing C that much easier for me. I don't really know C, so like it's already going to be a challenge, I guess. But I didn't really find anything in Sea Lion above and beyond what PyCharm what PyCharm gives me. And I basically just developed C in PyCharm. I also use PyCharm for web projects as well, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript projects. I'll use PyCharm for. It has support for all three of those. They have a bunch of other IDEs that are meant for different things, but honestly, like everything that I do personally, I can get done with PyCharm. Or I will say, like, the stuff that I can't do with PyCharm is pretty much stuff that Android Studio does, which also happens to be made by IntelliJ, so it's kind of similar as well. But pretty much everything that's not Android development that I do, I can and do pretty much do inside of PyCharm. There's lots of stuff I just don't work on that, of course, would not work. Like, iOS development or something, right? Like, I have no choice in that. If I was doing iOS development, then I definitely couldn't use PyCharm. But, or like Ruby or Golang or something, right? Rust or some of these other languages. Like, PyCharm doesn't support that, but I don't use them, at least with any regularity. So to start with, I think let's just represent our tabs as 3 labels. And I think let's make a tab group, which is going to be equal to a new group. Display.io group. So we're going to add our labels to this, and then I think we add this to ourself because we are also a group. Yeah. Page layout already is a group, and we're extending page layout, so do we want to extend page layout? Maybe we just want to use a page layout. Maybe TabLayout should be a group, and it just has a page layout inside of it. Let's go down the road of extending first. If we run into a reason why extending is becoming problematic, then we'll switch and just extend group and then make a page layout in here and put it in the group. But for now, let's try this way. Let's see if we run into a reason why this is not going to work. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. So we make a group. Let's append it to ourselves before we forget. Self-append, tab group. So I think one of the weird things is you can't initialize pages in the constructor, which ultimately I think would be a good thing to add. But for right now, the way that you add pages is with a function called add page or add content. Add content, which I think I chose add content because it matches the grid layout. For personal use, they charge $89 a year. Yeah, something like that. I don't know for sure if that's a question, but if you're looking at the page, then that does sound about right. I pay something like that each year to maintain it. I don't know exactly how much it is though. I was thinking about buying they have one where you can buy all, it's like one cost, and you get all the IDEs. It's more, obviously, than a single one, but it's not that much. I want to say it was like maybe $150 or $200 a year, something like that, which is kind of a lot for IDEs, especially, but like it might be helpful to be able to use some of them. The other one I was eyeballing recently was actually IntelliJ, because I was working on Minecraft plugin, which is written in Java. And IntelliJ is nice for it, and PyCharm was not as nice for it. So like, I may still pull the trigger on that one of these days, buy the bundle one, and then I have access to all of them. I think still probably PyCharm is the one I will use like 90% of the time, but occasionally it would be nice to have IntelliJ. Maybe like WebStorm and some of the other ones. There might be stuff I don't know about yet that might make those nice to have as well. I was hoping that CLion would provide a lot of like control click functionality, because like one of the things I like about PyCharm is control click. You can control click on a function and it will take you to that function's definition. In this case, there's a couple options because there's different ones, but like I control clicked it and it took me to the definition of the thing I control clicked. I was hoping for that kind of stuff out of CLion inside the CircuitPython core, but it didn't end up having too much of that, at least not in the way that it was set up for me. There might be some way, like I don't know how to configure it possibly. I was hoping that would be really nice, and then if that was, I totally was going to buy CLion, and at that point I probably would have just got the full bundle, because once you buy two, you're like almost probably to the cost of the bundle. Oh, Johnny has a bundle, good price for what you get, yeah. Discovered that they give free licenses. Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, if you are working on open source stuff, you can have a free license. There's a community version. The bundle that Johnny means is on the IDEA bundle that has all of the IDEA IDEs like IntelliJ, WebStorm, CLion, PyCharm, all of them. They have a bunch more. Okay. So I think that's probably fine for now. We just make the group, we append it to ourselves, and then we pretty much just wait. I do think, what else happens? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we have already found the point where extending is going to get weird. because basically we want our tabs to be able to be drawn above our pages. The way this is, the tabs are at the top, the pages are below. So if we go down this road of extending page layout, then we're going to have to just artificially change the Y of each of these page groups to push them down. Because all the page groups are directly inside of the group that we are extending. So we can't just push the group we are extending down, because that will also push the tab group down, since that's also in the one we are extending. Yeah, I think I'm already swinging back this way. Let's extend group instead. Eventually, I might actually break these arguments out. For now, though, I'm trying to just kind of get the rough shape of the API laid out, and I don't want to worry about them. So we create a page layout. We create a tab group. We add the tab group to ourselves. We also add the page layout to ourselves. And then I think just go page layout dot y equals tab height. Sure, there's a reason why this doesn't work, but let's see. Didn't crash. Oh, it did crash. Tab layout has no add content. Okay, so that's part of the downside of not extending page layout, is we now don't have any of our functions. I guess we could extend both, but it starts to get weird. I think that's all right. I think we just go down this path. Sucks because I'm gonna copy paste a bunch of this. Yeah, we don't get any help from inheritance. Do we want to do that? I think, yeah, I think that's all right. That's all right. Honestly, this we should just pass 0, 0 to, actually. I should do this the same. It shouldn't be different in these two files. IDE for databases, interesting. I don't do, I mean, I use databases in the context of like a Django web application, but I don't do much like direct programming on the database. I bet you there's a lot of like helpful stuff though to look at the data inside there. I will say that's kind of tough sometimes, is like I don't have just a database viewer that I use. So the database exists and holds all the data, but I kind of have to use one of the front ends, or else just like a raw scripting terminal. It would be nice sometimes to have visualization of it. Okay, so when we add content, we create a page group for it. Actually, we don't need to do that. We're just gonna call, I don't need to do any of this. We're just gonna call I think we just call to our page layout, right? I think we also, for the tabbed layout, we might not want to allow none for page names. I'm not sure. Because I think the page names are where I'm going to get the title labels for the tabs, so I don't know if we should allow none. Eventually, maybe I guess we abstract it further and we allow icons like we saw in some of these other pictures. Some of these have icons and not words. Maybe that would be nice to support as well. In which case, then I guess maybe none would make sense. Anyway, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, I'll just pass it through. Okay, so this will still crash because there's other functions that don't exist. Show page. So let's just kind of make some kind of like glue connector code, basically. Def show page. And then page name, page index, page. We could copy actually. I'm just gonna do these one at a time. Show page, showing page index. Showing page name. It ran for a little bit there. I actually saw the first 2 pages, I think. Oh, I guess we should have the setters as well, huh? This is where like extending would be nice to not have to copy paste all this, but I guess we're going to have slightly different behavior for some of it, so we would have ended up maybe having to override some anyway. Page layout. Okay. Think we'll be able to run till we hit the next page, previous page? Nope, showing page content. Oops. there a way to like make a dynamic property that like gets the name that the user tried to get the property of as a string, and then you could like dynamically hook it up to another class? I'd love to be able to just say like, whenever the user tries to access a property of TabLayout, check the property name that they asked for on page layout and see if it exists, and if it does, then just use it, basically. Anybody know if there's a way to like hook up that sort of dynamic thing, like make one class dynamically have properties and then sort of map them over to another class? Is it possible to install on another drive than C? That's a good question. I would assume yes, but I don't actually know. I think you don't. I don't think you have to install the entire bundle as one thing, but again, I don't know. I don't have it. I think you just can install the individual ones the same as if you bought each one separately. In which case, yeah, when you install it, there will be a wizard or whatever that will ask you where you want it to go, I'm pretty sure. But again, I don't have it, so definitely don't go spend that much on my account of that. But that's my guess. Okay, what did we get to? Next page, okay. So yeah, because like these would be nice. We could just like, so I'm basically just gonna straight call through to page layout. Same thing on this one. Now I think this will actually just keep running. Change the pilot avatar to a more personal image. Nice. Yeah, seems like we're hit the loop and are looping through just fine now. And I think we have that extra space up there as well. I'm pretty sure we were closer to the top before, although I'm not 100% positive, and I'm not going to go change it back to test. But I think our 20 here has worked because we set the page layout Y to our tab height. And so we have room to make the pages up there. So now, when we add content, we want to make a tab for it with a label and maybe ultimately some other stuff like underscoring and stuff like that. But let's just focus on the label first, and then we'll add other features as we get to them. So from display text, bitmap label, import label. How do we want to hold these? Do we want to keep like labels, or we can just append them to the tab group and then we don't need... Basically, we'll hold them for us. We don't really need a separate list. Yeah, I think that should be fine. So I think what I want is a helper function, def draw tabs. This will take care of looking at the current pages and rendering all the labels for them. And so when you call add content, it will add the content to the page layout, but it will also call draw tabs. Do we have a way to get the page names, like as a list or something? We don't really right now. we can get the showing page name. We should add a property to this. Def property def page names. Return. Oh, I totally did this wrong. What? Okay. Well, we must have these though, right? Right? This is in. Oh no, because they're. We have page content lists, which holds dictionaries. Each dictionary has a page name. Can you pass a number to this for the size? No, that doesn't work. You have to create it with the stuff. All right. Trying to think of a way to not make a list, but I think a list is probably the easiest thing. So we have a list. We go for page in self page content list names append page name turn names. Now we have a way to access the names. So now in here we go. How do we want to do this? I think first thing we should do is make labels if we need to. So let's say if length of tab group is less than length of page names. You know what we should also do actually? Oh, I was gonna say we should override length. I guess though this is overriding group, which does have length, but it might, I don't know if it's gonna be the right count. Page names definitely will though, so I'm gonna stick with that. So if we have currently fewer labels than we need, based on how many names there are, actually, let's do this. While we have fewer labels existing than we have pages, we're gonna go self.tabgroup.append a new label. Terminal IO. Eventually we'll provide a way where this can be changed, but for now I'm just going to go default terminal IO font, text equals empty. I think that's it. I'm going to set the location and everything afterwards. So yeah, I think that might be it. And in fact, I guess we don't even really need this. Maybe we do. I don't know. Okay, so this will create new labels, one for each of our pages. Now, after we get done with this while loop, then we're guaranteed to have as many labels as we need. Let me catch up on the chat as well. By the way, I mean the time I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when exactly you said that or what I was talking about at the time, but I'm not sure what you mean. I mean the time. Oh, in the meantime, I see. In the meantime, I think I'm with you now. So we're guaranteed to have enough. So now let's loop over the names. So for name in self page layout page names, loop over the names and set each one. Also, I think we want enumerate. I feel like we should keep. I feel like we should do this. Names equals. It doesn't matter that much, probably, but we're gonna the instance inside of here. This is looping through. We really should just call it once, and then we don't have to loop nearly as much. Okay, so loop over the names, and for each one, we're gonna go self dot. What? Self. Goodness. Tab group access I dot text equals name. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. I just am used to using I. It's just kind of hard-coded in my brain that I is the iterator variable. Truthfully, I know the underscore is probably more Pythonic, though, as they say, right? I think that's more common in Python code. There are two ways to install use JetBrains Toolbox. We'll do it for you on C. Or use the standard installer where you can choose, I think. Yeah. Honestly, I kind of like I better, actually, because this looks weird to me. I don't like immediately just subconsciously know exactly what it's doing. I have to think about it, even if only for a split second. That's a split second where like I have to consider it and I have to use just that little bit extra conscious reading ability. Whereas I'm so familiar with this, I just know exactly what it's doing all the time without even thinking about it. I'm going to go back to this. So TabLayout I, set the text. We also need to set the location. Yeah, we also need to set the location. This is going to be weird. I think what we'll do is let's set the location by anchor point, and then we will center the text on the exact center of the first third of the width, for instance. And we'll center the next tab in the center of that next one. Instead of trying to place it by its like it's 0, 0, its top left corner, I think we place it by the center. So let's go get tab group I and say anchored point equals 0.5, 0.5. And now this is only anchor point. This is anchored position. This one will be weirder. Maybe we should actually do this by 0 on this one. And I am inclined to put 0 here, but eventually, I mean, it will look better with a little bit of padding. Maybe we'll have that be a configuration eventually, though, as padding, like a vertical location of the labels. I thought underscore was shorthand for a variable I discard. I would use index. Yeah, the I definitely stands for index. Underscore I would discard. I guess I have seen underscore like that as well, where you don't want to access it. I guess that's more. I think that's more where I've seen the underscore used, is if you like don't actually necessarily need to access it, or maybe don't need to access it every iteration or something. Index would definitely be more descriptive than I. I just happen to one of the few poorly named variables that I use is I. Definitely index, I think, is a better name, though, because it's more clear without thinking as much again. But I am going to keep I for now. Remember, I learned Python from an ebook. So this one will be weird. So the anchored position X, this is where we need to do like our division here. We also need to know the display size, which I think we should take maybe display. I think we should take the display. It means we have to pass it here. This way, we'll be able to access the width, and if the user is using an external display, they could just pass it in here, and then we'll be able to get the width. Okay, so how do we find these points? These points are... What are these points? These are basically the fraction of 1 over however many names we have. How do we do that dynamically? To just... Because the first one I want... So I'm imagining this with a 3-tab layout. Obviously, I want to make this support multiple, but the way I'm thinking through it is with a 3-tab layout. So I want the first label to be centered at the 1/3 point of the screen, which would mean here we would say self.display over 3. Okay, so yeah. 3, though, this is just length of names. Times I. So if we take our 3-tab layout as an example, we're looping through this. We're going to have 3 iterations. The first iteration, I is 0. So the width of the display divided by 3, because that's how many names we have. Times, should this be I plus 1? I plus 1? Because we want to times it by 1, otherwise we're going to get down to 0. I think that should be it. First time viewer, Nesvin. Hi, how's it going there? Thanks for hanging out in the Twitch chat with us. So let me catch up on the chat here as well. For me, 4i was a memory saving approach back in the days. I'm sure computing in BASIC, I recall it represented index back then. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good as well. It's good to hear. What do you play with CircuitPython stuff, or you just kind of trolling around Twitch looking for different stuff to watch? Curious what your level of interest in this sort of stuff is. If you're willing to share, it's totally fine if you don't want to as well. Let's see. Yes, I don't think the reason was memory saving 1975-ish. 64K of RAM. For name num in, and name in enumerate. Name num. Okay. So then let's imagine the second iteration. So display width divided by 3 again, this time times 2, which does make sense because we would get... Oh, no, it doesn't. Yeah, no, it doesn't, because we want, on the second one, we want the halfway point. And the halfway point is not the same as the 2/3 point. Am I wrong? Do we not want the 1/3 point? Do we actually want the 1/4? We actually want the 1/4, don't we? Because we want the middle one is in the middle. The left one should be halfway between the middle and the edge, which would actually be the 4th, not the 3rd. And then the right one would be at the 3/4. So do we go length of names? +1? +1? Another +1 here? So the first time through the loop, we would get width of the display divided by 4 times 1 the first time through. So the width of the display divided by 4, and that's it. So the quarter point of the display, which is where we want. The second time through, width of the display over 4 again, but this time times 2. So the 2/4 point, which is the same as the 1/2 point. The third time through, display width divided by 4 times 3. Yeah, this is what we want, I think. And hopefully that will work for 4 and 5 and other numbers of tabs as well. I think it will, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to think through it all the way right now. So, because we'll be able to just add some and we can see if it works or not. It'll be real clear, and I won't have to spend the time like actually going through thinking about it for each one. Okay, so let's say that's going to work. So this will set our text, and it will set our anchor point of the text. And yeah, that should already be showing. So if we just added here, like, draw tabs, theoretically we would get some labels, maybe? We break out a REPL? Indeed, we have tabs. So they're kind of small. But again, I think we'll probably provide configurability. For now, I think what I'll do is, let's set the scale to 2 for now. Oh, whoa. There we go. That's better. Yeah. I think we could use a little more space. After the tabs, but this really just is like gonna be a configuration thing. Why don't we go ahead and make it configurable now? We might not even need this stuff anymore. Let's try 24. Oh, broke it. What does it say? Unexpected argument? Oh, args and quargs, right. Okay. Check those out, which means these no longer do anything. We should go ahead and actually use these self.x equals x, self.y equals y. This way the user can put the xy coordinates of the tab layout when they create it. What if we try this? That looks pretty good. So maybe this quarters is not what we want. Because looking at this right now, if we imagine a box around page 1, and we imagine a box around page 2, and we imagine a box around page 3, the boxes for page 1 and page 3 are bigger than the box for page 2. There's more room out here and out here than there is on either side of page 2. The boxes might be almost the same if we like cut it off right at the edge of page 1 and right at the first edge of page 3 here, and everything on the inside all belong to page 2. Maybe they're pretty close to the same, but I think this is not what we want. So we need to, what is it that we actually want? What we want is to divvy up the screen into equal widths. So in our case, 3 equal widths. And then we want our text centered inside of each of those widths. So we want to imagine a box that's 1/3 of the screen, and then we want to center our text inside of that 1/3 of the screen. What does the math for that look like, though? Good morning to Keith the E. Hope your weekend is going well. Yep, seconded that as well. Oh, sorry, on Twitch there. This is way too complex. What are we doing on Python? Yeah, so let me catch up here. Sorry, I asked you a question on Twitch and then I kind of got distracted a bit. Well, I recently wanted to try out Python to see if it's something for me, but I'm having some problems even starting. What are we doing in Python? It's way too complex to me. What brought me to code? So, we are doing CircuitPython specifically. You can learn a little bit more if you're interested at this website, circuitpython.org. Basically, this is a version of Python that runs on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. So we're writing Python that runs on these tiny computers. Like this one has this main chip right here, which is basically an entire computer inside of this chip. Not a super powerful computer, but powerful enough to like have a screen and do some of this stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that I am working on today. And what brought me to code? That's a good question. Honestly, I was naturally kind of drawn to code. I mean, like the actual story is my aunt and uncle are programmers, and we would go to their house to celebrate holidays and stuff when I was a kid. And one of the times when I was at their house, they set me up on the computer using QBasic, and I just messed around with QBasic like the whole time I was there. And from then on, I just like always liked playing with coding, and I kind of got a job from it eventually. I got some formal training in high school, learned a lot by myself, just on the internet, and it's my job now, full-time job developing, and then part-time job working on the CircuitPython stuff. Oh, I thought the screen was on the website, not a cam. Oh, yeah, that's a camera. Yeah, so this is like its own little device. Like you could kind of think of it almost like a smartphone, basically. It doesn't have all the same functionality, but it's a similar type of little touchscreen. Maybe a small tablet would be a better analogy. But yeah, that's its own little device there. Thanks for hanging out, by the way. Appreciate you coming by hanging out on the Twitch. Center of the 3 tabs has a divisor of 6. Ooh, that's a good point, because 1/6 is half of 1/3. That's a good point. Yeah. So we double. We want to double the number we have. We want to double the number we have, and then... But how do we know which fraction? Because the first one would be at 1/6. But the second one would be at 3/6. And the last one would be at 5/6. So what is special about 135? How do we find out that for the other numbers as well? So I feel like this one is not what we want. What I'm going to do is comment it, and that way we could try to switch back to it if we need to later, or I can copy paste code from it, but I'm going to make a new one and start again on this formula. So we want... What do we want? I think I'm not going to worry about the sixths. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to go tab width equals display width over 3. We're going to start there. Tab width is display width over 3. And then here we're going to go this can be outside. Have the tab width. So we're going to say start of tab equals I times tab width. So this represents the left edge of the tab. For the first one, the left edge of the tab is 0. For the second one, the left edge of the tab is the 1/3 point. For the last one, the left edge is the 2/3 point. So I have the start of the tab. So my anchored position is going to be basically the start of the tab plus half of the tab width. Start of tab plus tab width over 2. All good. What is the purpose of this code to the tablet? Will it have some practical use or just for learning? The specific thing that I am working on right now is building this tabbed layout, which will allow you to switch between different screens. The use case for it is basically this learn guide, which is pretty much just a learning thing. This is a project that other folks can learn how to implement this type of interface. But I will say the intent is that people will learn how to make this interface and then use it in a practical project. So this one is really just an illustration, but the idea is like somebody else could come along and make a practical project where like one of these pages shows value from a sensor and another one of these pages maybe downloads a value from an API on the internet, and maybe a third page like, you know, pulls data from some other type of sensor or something. So it's like a mix of a little of all of it. Like specifically, it's just a demonstration, this one, or an example code. But we're also trying to make it an easy starting point for people to just grab and start an actual practical project from it. And it looks like we're pretty good there. This looks much better. So here I'm imagining the boxes, and they're looking like they would be pretty even to me now. So I think we got this part down. So what if we add a fourth page, though? Let's make sure that it draws right if we have a fourth page. So let's just kind of make another one of these things. Let's go further to the right, maybe. I already used green, actually. Let's do blue. Catch up on the chat. Page index times 1/3 plus 1/6. Yeah, which I think is basically what I ended up with. But I did do it, I think, hopefully dynamically enough where it'll work for 4 as well. But that's, I believe that's the same formula I ended up with. Assuming 0 index, your math works, and it's more explicit than mine. It's a good solution. Okay. I mean, I think they're the same, basically. Yours just has it filled in with the example of 3s, and then mine has the, basically, those are still the variables based on the length. We have a rectangle, square, circle, triangle. We need to make a page. Page. So we have a label and a rectangle. Those will be the things we put on our page. Page 4 and page 4 label. Rectangle. Add content. Page 4. Oop. Uh-oh. Huh. We still have something hard-coded for 3. The 4th page shows, there's the 4th page with the blue rectangle. Huh. This. I see. So unbeknownst to me, mine was actually hard-coded to the number as well, actually. So our math was even closer to the same. Tab width, this will be the length of names. There we go. Okay. Now we're looking pretty good. And I'm fairly confident that it would work for others as well. Like if we added a 5th, I mean, we're going to run out of room with page names this long, but if we added a 5th, I'll just make an empty. The label works. Obviously, we're getting to the point where we couldn't really be adding too many more than this, probably. Even this is honestly probably pushing it for the resistive touchscreen. Ideally, we want this to still be usable with fingers instead of stylus, so we probably are still there, but we're definitely on that edge of like anybody with relatively big hands. Like I have pretty big hands, and so if I was trying to touch on this, it may or may not actually pick it up in the right spot. The calibration will help out quite a bit, and it's probably okay how it is, but it's definitely getting to be on that edge. We could probably do with a little more space between the pages and the tabs as well, I think. Let's make that configurable. Let's just start anytime where I'm like, why don't we have a little more of this here? Why don't we just go ahead and make it configurable, and then by the time we're done, we'll have a bunch of ways to set it up. So we already have tab height. Let's do, actually tab height is it. Tab height is it. Yeah, we can just pass a bigger one. We already have this. We could just say tab height. Maybe our default should be different. I don't know. Tab height, let's try 28. Only have a PyPortal pint. I will say the pint does have the same size as the standard PyPortal, the same resolution as the standard PyPortal. It's a different size, like physically fewer inches, but same amount of pixels. They're smaller pixels. Although I'm on the Titano, which does have more pixels, which means probably 5 pages would be too much for the normal PyPortal and the Pint would be my guess. I mean, you could also go like, let's add one for tab scale, tab text scale equals 2. Tab text scale equals 1 by default. And this goes, oh, we need to put it on self dot tab text scale. We'll go back after the fact and make it to where this will update. Right now I'm passing it when I initialize the label and never really updating it. It should be easy enough though that we can make it where like if the scale is not correct here, then we could change it. In fact, let's just do it. Self dot tab group I scale if this is not self dot tab this, then set it. I mean, we could just set it anyway, I guess, and avoid the if statement, but I don't know if there's overhead for setting it. Okay. So then maybe like this you could do, whoa. You could do this. Whoops. And you could probably fit this on a standard PyPortal. This one would probably work. But they're super tiny. So theoretically, maybe we'll eventually add a custom font as well, and then you could supply your own font that's like between scale 1 and 2. Make the size work out. But yeah, probably 4. 4 is probably the practical limit on the standard PyPortal. Probably even 3 if it's in portrait mode, which is how the guide is anyway. Let's make sure this works in portrait mode. I think it should work the same. Oh, I don't know. Does width return? Does width take into account rotation? Nice. This pushed the touchscreen resolution to the limit for the titanium spacing between the buttons. Is made width for fingers, yeah. That's pretty good though, honestly. I mean, that's a lot of touch points for the device. I mean, I think it's like 2.5, 3 inches only. Okay, let's try, what was I doing? Oh, I was changing this. Does width change when you change this? So we're about to find out. Yeah, it looks like it, which does also show us our first sort of like bug, I guess, if you want to call it a bug. I'm not sure if how much I intend to really make it support this, but I might just turn the light back off, honestly. Can't get the glare just right. I don't want to mess with it. I'm just going to turn the light back off. The colors will be more washed out, but at least we won't have the big old glare. This does show kind of the first, I guess, limitation of this widget, which is that if you have names that are too big, then it won't look good. And I think for like Rev A, my plan is just like, you get the caveat. Maybe we put a warning in the README that says if your names are too long, it won't look good. But I don't think I want to solve it like technically. I think I want to build the layout, give the power to the user, and with that power comes the responsibility of like, you have to choose names that fit on the screen that you have. Theoretically, we'd probably be all right with 4. Yeah, even 4 is pretty tight, honestly. For a touchscreen with fingers, I don't know. little extra padding between them would be pretty nice, honestly. 3 will probably be all right. Yeah, 3's pretty good. Honestly, this is... If it were me, I would probably either only use 3, or if I was going to go up to 4, I would create acronyms that were like... I would try to choose names that are only like 3 digits only. Oh, what's... Oh, right, because a bunch of the code... Yeah, this has like page 3. Let's just turn this stuff off. Index is fine. Page name will turn off. Index. Adding. Next, okay. Gotta go. Good luck on the project. Yeah, thanks. And definitely echo what Keith said. Have a good day. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, see, this isn't bad. If you have only 3 letters in the name, you can kind of fit 4 and it has enough padding, but maybe even 4 letters would be all right. I think, though, in general, I don't want to, at least for the first version of this, I don't want to code a technical solution. I think I want to just leave this up to, like, you know the limitations. You kind of have the ability to change the scale, you have the ability to change the size, you have the ability to choose the names of your pages. Therefore, it's just kind of up to the person who uses this code to choose names and scales and sizes that work out for the device they're running it on. Because technical limitation will get weird, because some devices will have room for more, so it will have to take into account the actual width. Then it would basically need to like measure the label and then figure out how many room for labels there are. But then I'd also have to just make an arbitrary decision about how much padding is valid or invalid. Whereas this way, it's just up to the user. I like giving it to the user and saying, like, you can do it however you want, but that means you can do it in ways that won't look good too. I want to make it easy to do it so it does look good, but I also want to give full control and not have to write a ton of gnarly logic, at least for the first version. Font size could help. Yeah, we could shrink it down to scale 1. Or we could find a font that's like between scale 1 and scale 2. It's kind of a big jump from scale 1 to scale 2 in the default font size. You can get like size 12 font or something is bigger than the default, but smaller than the double. So there is room in there as well to use a custom font. We'd have to set it up, right? I'll have to probably accept a custom font here. Why don't we do it? So I already know PyLint will be mad about this, but that's all right. I don't know if there are devices that don't have terminal, but like we don't need to import it. Oh, I already did import it though. We don't need to import it if we don't want to use it. And this allows that to happen. If the user passes their own font, then this won't get imported. It will save a little bit. Whoops. Now we should be able to supply a custom one, I think. Tune stopped. Oh, that was weird. It started before I clicked yes. I think I'll wrap it up before too long. I know there's obviously a lot left to do on this, but I feel like I made pretty good progress getting the tabs drawn, getting the pages working and everything using the same API. Play around for a little bit longer, but I'm definitely getting to that antsy point where I just want to get up and stretch out and move around and stuff. Let's test the custom font while we're here. Test the custom font. I actually don't have memorized the custom font code. I think I have this bad habit of like not necessarily memorizing code. If I know where to copy paste it from, then I use that as a crutch. Like I'll just go here every time that I ever need custom font and copy paste it, and then I never learn the actual code, which is maybe bad, maybe not, I'm not sure, but something I've noticed about myself. Let's try Helvetica. Whoa. That's another one of the really nice things that I take for granted about PyCharm now, is it's smart about what files exist, and it will prompt you to fill them in. So I don't have to type the full name of that. Okay, so we created font, so we want to pass it here. I actually know what Helvetica looks like. Oh, that's definitely different. It's bigger. Almost looks like the margin on the left is different than the margin on the right. It looks like we have more margin on the right. I bet you that's probably, though, this double divide thing. This will, I don't think this rounds. I think this truncates. So, like, if the number that it came up with was, same thing here. The number that it came up with was, like, 0.77 something, right? Like something 0.77. It won't round up, I don't think. It will just truncate. So like if it got, 26.77, it's basically going to truncate down to 26, even though it's closer to 27. Just how brains work. Don't get to decide if I commit something to memory or not. Yeah, definitely true. Definitely true. Okay, so custom font is working. That's good. What else do I want to do? Is there anything else relatively small we could do today? You know what? Let's add functionality for changing colors. Eventually, I'd like to do background colors and maybe the underline things. To start with, though, let's say maybe the current page gets a different color for the text. We'll make that one of our options. And I think that shouldn't take too long to implement, so let's do that now. So let's say we want to accept, we should probably just go ahead and like new line all of these, honestly. Most of these at least. So let's say tab text color will be the default color, which will be white. And then tab text selected color, no, showing. I'm going to use showing because page layout already uses the term showing, like showing page name, showing page index. The showing tab makes sense. We should continue using the same terminology. There's a case to be made, maybe selected would be better than showing in both places, and I'm open to that argument. But as of right now, it's showing, and so we should keep it. Tab text, maybe showing tab text color. Showing tab text color. And let's just default it to blue? Gray? Maybe we should do a darker gray for the default ones and then a white for the selected one. Yeah, I think I like that as a default. Let's try this. Whoa, ox. Got the old ox. So then, basically when we change pages, we need to change the color. Which unfortunately, we actually have a bunch of ways to change pages, and we would have to include this code in all of them. So I think what we should actually do is make... Actually, we could just do it inside of here. Yeah. We could say... Yeah, actually, this is the perfect place. If I is equal to self.page layout, what? Oh, equal to page layout dot showing page index. If the current page in our loop is the one that's showing, set the text to a different color. Is it just color or text color? I don't actually know. Text color, which I didn't put on self. Let's do that. Okay. Else, if it's not the one that's showing, and I don't know if we need this part, but again, I don't know if there's overhead. Maybe setting the color to the color it's already on might still cause it to redraw or something. So we could check here. So else, oh, actually, else and, that doesn't work. I guess it would just be elif tab group I. So elif, the color of this one is not already. Okay, I did this wrong. Color. This should be, though, up here, this should be showing. Current tab, active tab. I do like some of those, actually. See you, Paul. You're heading out? Oh, Keith actually is heading out. Sorry. Take it easy, Keith. Have a good day. Rest of your day. Good weekend. Everything. I do kind of like current tab or active tab, but I do think that'll be a larger change. If we do change it, we should change it in both places. And then whatever page layout uses is what tab layout should use as well. Current or active, I could be persuaded towards though, instead of showing actually. Why is this mad? Oh, self. So if the current one we're looking at is the active one, set the color of the current one to the active color. I already started calling it active. Else, if the color of the current one is not, already the default color, then set it to the default color. Otherwise, it is already the default color, and we don't need to change it. Let me see what this is. Okay. All right. How does this work? Okay, that does actually work, but it's probably pretty difficult to tell coming through the stream. Maybe you could tell one is brighter than 2, 3, 4. Oh, but it's not changing actually. Oh, because this is not getting called every frame, every time we change. So I guess we just, well, two things. Let's make this darker so it's easier to see. devil's number. Try that. Then let's go. Maybe I'll refactor this later. I would love if there was a place where I could just add this once and it would always take effect, but which I guess that place is here, but this is unused. This is just brought over from page layout. Page layout calls its version of this internally whenever these properties are changed. I think for here though, I just do this. Set that and then draw tabs. Anytime we change the page, draw tabs. There we go. It's easier to see now as well. Nice. Okay. Now we have an indicator, at least a basic indicator using color, showing us which page we're currently on, and it does automatically update itself as we change pages. So that's pretty nice. All right, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for me today. So we got a good chunk of this knocked out. Of course, there's obviously a lot more to do still. You know, we didn't even start with touch interaction yet. So, you know, you'll be able to touch on these labels to have it change. But I also wanted to support, like, if you wanted to hook up a rotary encoder or something, right? Like, we might not always be using this on a touchscreen. We might have a different interface with the user, a knob or some D-pad buttons or a joystick or something. Like, the way this is created, it's easy for a user to write code that has this layout no matter what their inputs are. So we will handle the touch stuff as well. But as is, it does work for some of those other inputs right now. And of course, I just have it automatically paging through. But yeah, this is coming together nicely. I feel like we got a pretty good start on it. It's definitely what I had imagined. We'll just kind of shore it up, provide a lot more customization for the tabs, stuff with background colors and things here, maybe drawing lines between them if you want. Some other stuff like that. Maybe the underlines for the visual indicator. Maybe we hook that sort of thing up as well. So we got lots of things we could do to keep improving it. But I think that is all, at least for this part of today. Yeah, for sure. Thank you to you as well, Aoi. I don't know the right way to pronounce your name, so I apologize if I got it wrong. I believe you're the, if I'm not getting my wires crossed, I believe you're the person who made the update to that Titano Learn Guide thing. So thank you for that as well. And thank you to everybody else for watching. Neradoc, Paul, let's see, C. Grover, Keith. Who else was around today? Johnny was around. Is that everybody? I think from Discord, maybe. Yeah, I think so. And then over on Twitch, we had Nesvin, Keith, and Uvi. Nesvin, Keith, and Uvi. So thank you to all you folks. And I will catch you next time. I'll be back Friday evening for Deep Dive. I'll be back next Saturday for this stream in the morning, which I don't really have a name for, but I should probably come up with something. Yeah, so I'll see you then. Yeah, thank you to you as well. Paul, I'm glad you enjoyed and found it interesting. So, yep, I'll see you all later.